We start the KPI process by exploring what is this signature value proposition of what you want to build your brand around. And we really emphasize this concept of what we call the prize, which is there is some kind of unique expression that captures the essence of the desired outcome your market want. So if we boil it all down, you've got an audience of potential ideal customers, prospects that are trying to get to some ideal state, right? Or a highly desirable destination. If I was to look at the value canvas, they're back here sort of fumbling their way through, trying to work out, how do I define even where we're going or what we want? And then how do they connect to the symptoms they're experiencing or some of the pain points or the frustrations or the headaches to underlying kind of root cause problems of what's driving that and the mistakes they're making that are perpetuating those problems. And so there's a whole kind of educational journey that your market, our market, all of our markets going through in order to sort of figure out how do I get to where we want to go. And so part of why this is important is because if you imagine sort of prospect is on this journey, our job as a thought leader or as a marketer is in part to help them recognize that there's a wrong way to go about it. And then there's a superior way or a better way to go about it. And as we go out there and we create content and thought leadership and all this sort of stuff, what we're trying to do is help our market to connect to, look, I know you might be thinking about all these different ways in order to get more of what you want, but those ways are fraught with danger, what you're trying to achieve. And so the concept of the prize is about articulating or capturing, how do we capture the essence of that outcome people want into a phrase that you could own in the marketplace? Very similar to someone like Simon Sinek. Prior to him being Simon Sinek, he was just another leadership coach and consultant. Really good at what he did, amazing at what he did, but nonetheless far more invisible in his marketplace compared to what he is now. And so, if you think about, we're all on this journey sort of through this hierarchy where we initially we're new in an industry, we start to learn the skill of the trade of what we do, and then we get skilled in that area. And this is the land of the majority of the industry, right? Very kind of good providers, but functional, not a lot that differentiates them. Simon Sinek comes along and is he creates this beautiful little piece of IP called the Golden Circle. And he talks about the top 1% or 0.1% of leaders and companies in the world. They don't talk about what they do or how they do it. They start by talking about why they do what they do. They enroll the marketplace in a powerful vision for why they exist. They indoctrinate people into a strong why, and from there they can talk about how they do it and what they actually deliver. But they reverse the order of how they communicate. They don't start with what, they start in the middle and they go outwards. And that one simple idea packaged through the right media channels and then boom, explosion of brand. So what we're doing in this journey and why we start with the value canvas over here is because we really want to try and clarify and identify what's that little expression that you could own. So if you were to look at your value canvas right now, and if in the prize section there's a lot of text, and I see this in blockbusters a lot, it's like a big whole thing of text talking about all the outcomes that you deliver or that you achieve for a client. Sure, there's a bunch of results they want. They want, and I'll use our example. You guys want more money, more time, more freedom, to be more visible, more recognized in your industry, be seen as more valuable, to be better connected to the other key players. These are all benefits or payoffs, but it all gets captured in the essence of that outcome of being the key person of influence. It's an identity. And so when we are creating content and when we're putting together signature presentations or doing scorecards or things like that, what we're trying to create is this we're communicating there's sort of this tension or sort of there's these opposing ways. There's the inferior way and then there's the superior way. And hopefully those thought leadership ideas intercept the journey that our prospect is on and give them a bit of a light bulb moment. Instead of going down the well-trodden path towards mediocrity, we can give them a bit of a paradigm shift to recognize, you know what, I was thinking that we just need to focus on building systems in our business. It feels a bit chaotic. We where there's no processes that are written down or documented. I think before we go about expanding the business, we just need to organize and systemize the business more. Like that might be one way of thinking that our prospect would have prior to meeting us, coming to presentations, reading the book, things like that. And so the job of all of this content ecosystem you're creating in your business is to help sort of dethrone or debunk. The wrong way is, of course, like subjective, right? The wrong way from your paradigm, the way you see the world. And your job is to enroll your audience in your paradigm and your way of thinking. Because if we can enroll them in that new way of thinking of, I get it, the penny's dropped. Systems don't matter unless my business is growing. And my business is only going to grow if I'm seen as one of the go-to players for what I do. It's so competitive, it's so noisy. Instead of focusing on operating the business, I need to focus on being that key person of influence. If I can be the key person of influence, I'm going to attract all the opportunities and the resources I need in order to invest in the systems and pay the people in order to make them happen, right? So all of a sudden I've reprioritized, these things in someone's mind that might have been top of the list of the priorities. And I've helped them recognize, yes, that's the new priority. So this concept of the prize is sort of so critical to the rest of the KPI journey, because when we develop that, then what we can do is we can start to layer that into pitch material, publish content, we build the product ecosystem around it, so on and so forth. So where we go from there is we go, okay, we want to orient all of this 7-11-4 content we're creating to convince people this is the superior way. Of all the other things you're considering, these are all valid, great, but let me make the case for why I think you should consider or reprioritize this as your main goal. Then all of a sudden, this stuff is out there doing that job of the heavy lifting of just priming and pre-selling and priming and pre-selling and priming and pre-selling them to the idea of, this is what I need. And of course, if we can do that well, and it takes time. So typically what we found historically is someone joins our database and they spend about a year just sitting on the database, being 7-11 forward with emails and, content and, being directed to presentations or doing scorecards or coming to the next thing or watching a video on YouTube before they end up becoming a client. And hopefully that sort of helps you guys. You got to play the long game here. The key person of influence strategy is about playing the long game of, we're not trying to go, how do we as quickly as possible take someone who has no idea who you are and convert them into a sale. Sure, that might happen from time to time, but it will be fraught with lots of energy and effort trying to convince people to do business with you when they're just not quite ready. And so that's why we want to build out this 7-11-4 world of stuff for people to watch, to read, to listen to, guesting on podcasts, doing scorecards and assessments. And that helps create these series of light bulb moments.